Hello everyone, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman. Thank you for being with me for another YouTube question and answer video of the week. If you're new to the channel, this is awesome. I'm glad you're here. Feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and share these with anyone that you feel like would resonate with this type of information. We're a great community of people that just believe in the non-physical connection and world and the support of that. Also, if you're interested in taking my classes, I have a new round coming up in August of psychic development and multidimensional integration. And it's so much more than that. You have to pick a title for these things, but the title just doesn't encapsulate all that is involved in these classes. And anyone that's taken them can give testimonial to what a transformational experience it truly is. And if you're interested, if you're getting that little nudge in your heart, then I would encourage you to go over to my website. There's lots of information there. It's at themodernshaman.net. You can click on classes, mentorship, and look at the different programs and levels that I offer. I would love to help you on this journey if this is something that you're truly passionate about. Because I'm passionate about mentoring people in their own empowered sense of connection. If it's not obvious, why else would I do these videos, right? Okay, so let's jump into the question. Here it is for this week. It says, "Hi Rachel, I've been watching your videos for the past week or so when I suddenly remembered that I watched a video about shifting timelines a while back. Maybe that was a year ago. I suddenly remembered it. Anyway, in the video, you talk about helping a woman pass that had broken her neck. I have seen past relatives and spoken to those who are no longer incarnate. However, I want to make mediumship more permanent in my reality. The one hiccup to that for my 3D mind is being able to hear or see gruesome things that a person may have experienced while talking to them. In this video about shifting timelines, you speak about this woman's passing and you are very emotionally aligned. You seemed at ease. Is this something that comes with repeated experience? Is it a calm that you have because you see reality more clearly? Is this a part of the process, or have you always been fine with seeing the body in different states?" Okay. So, my heart is beating fast. There must be a lot of energy behind this question. I can only share from my experience, so this may not be true for you, but I can only share from me. Meaning, tune into your resonance and what feels true for you. I will say, personally, I have never had a sense of I am unique in the way that I view death, and I feel that I've always been unique in the way that I've viewed death. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have the physiological sensations of anxiety, meaning I do get a palpable feeling of my heart rate getting faster, or being sweaty, or being in an event that is traumatic. Experientially, I still have this sensational physiological response to a traumatic event, right? But at the same time, my consciousness, my soul has always been very distinctive in the way that I don't have a sense of fear surrounding death at all. I actually am, sounds strange, but I get very excited for that soul. I can give you a story. I remember even when I was young, and I had my first, that wasn't my first, but I had an experience of, a teenager who had cancer, and had been recovering for a few years, and he was this wonderful boy and had such an inquisitive energy, just wanted to know about so many things, was always asking questions and growing. And when he went back into the hospital, everyone had been suggested to make him cards, right? The principal was going to bring him these cards to the hospital so we could have all these get well cards all around him. And I sat down and I wrote this card, and I felt full of channeled energy, and I was so excited for him. And I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You should think of every single question that you've ever wanted to know. You're about to get to ask God himself these questions. You're going to find every answer. You should just think about all the questions. And I could feel this palpable excitement for him, and I was so joyous, and I just sent that card like all the other people, just thinking nothing of it. I felt very sincere in my heart, very clear and transparent in what I was sharing. I had no sense of disrespect in anything that was done, but response came back from his parents that was like, and the principal that was like, we should not ever send letters like this, and this was not the right thing to do. And I was like, oh, what's wrong with that? I had no sense of awareness that there was anything strange about what I had done or counter societal. I genuinely thought, and I had the intuitive knowing that he was about to pass, which he did. And I could feel that this was something that would be so wonderful for him, because he was such an inquisitive spirit and soul, and that was going to be such a beautiful space of knowing and awareness and knowledge for him that he would just like soak in. So I can tell you, at a young age, I always was a little counter-cultural when it came to my response, my natural organic response. I wasn't conscious of what I was doing. That's just how I responded to it. That's how I thought. I thought, awesome, let's prepare. Let's decide what we want to ask. Let's decide who we want to talk to. Let's the readying of that experience. I had no, I just didn't feel somber and sad about it at all. And I still don't, although I have learned just with my own sense of, getting older and maturity, how society expects and manages the space of a transition. So I'm respectful of those who are not in alignment with what I see and feel, because everybody's experience is very unique unto themselves in those moments. I also have always had a very different view when it comes to suicide. I have never, and even abortions. I realize these are very hot topics in our 3D manifested experience. But when I see them from the other side, they just don't look that way. And I don't see them that way. I see them from these multiple perspectives, and I just don't see them, I guess, the way that society does in this perspective. Suicides feel incredibly brave on a human level and incredibly freeing. And then there's also abortions have such an energy of birth on the other side. It is a birth, but it's a birth into the spirit realm, not the human realm. It's still a birth. It's just a flip of the coin, or I see it very different. So I guess I have always seen it this way, because I don't have to convince myself. I don't have to get into an emotional energy of acceptance. I don't. It's just there. This is the way that I see, because I feel like when I'm aligned with that soul's energy more than my own energy, I see it from that place of beauty and expansion and alignment and what it is from the other side. So it's not about me. It's not about my sense of sorrow or loss or fear or the contraction that I might feel as a human here on earth. I'm aligning with them and their freedom and their joy and their expansion and their life, their everlasting life. So when, I guess as a piece of advice, if you're moving into this practice, I can give you that piece of advice. It's just to align with that soul, because their soul is in so much peace and expansion, and it's so available and accessible to you from the other side. So another thing I will say, if this is a hiccup for you, meaning if you have fear about this, I will admit I did have fear when I started, the first time, another story here, the first time I ever gave a past life reading, I was in a psychic development class, and I can't remember if this was like part of our curriculum or how this came up, but I was working with someone else in the class and trying to get an understanding about her relational dynamic with her current husband. And so in my own personal meditation time, I would meditate every morning. So I thought, I want to see what went on in the past lives that are contributing to this life and why there's such a relational tension. So I asked Spirit if they would show that to me. And I didn't really know what to expect, but I asked that if it was traumatic, that I be spared of the traumatic energy. But I wanted the wisdom and understanding of that lifetime. So I went into my meditation and I started seeing the imagery of a very gruesome murder and chopped up body parts and all of these details, very, very specific. But Spirit held me in this energy of spaciousness, like I was seeing it, and I was seeing it very close up from multiple perspectives, meaning I was in her body at one time, I was in his body at one time, I was third person. I was seeing all these perspectives. I was feeling the emotional energy of it. I was fully present, but I didn't carry the weight of it, like the density of the emotional energy. There is a layer to all of what we experience, almost like a holographic layer or a layer of light, a layer, but there's a density to that layer that carries emotional component of trauma or the weight of it. And I didn't have that. I had asked Spirit, I was afraid of that, so I had asked Spirit because I knew what their relationship was like in present, so I had asked Spirit, I don't want to see anything that's going to freak me out. And I have always been very sensitive to imagery. I could never watch scary movies as a child, not even like drama movies where a kid was kidnapped or where, a kid was abused. I could never watch that stuff. Never. I would walk out of the room, I would close my eyes. I could not do it, would not do it. Otherwise it would show up in my dreams. The emotional energy always seemed to stay with me. So this was huge for me. And I completely get why you're asking the question. But if that is a concern, you can do just what I did and set that psychic boundary for yourself, telling Spirit, I want to see it, but I don't want the emotional density of that weight to stay with me. I want to be detached enough to gain the wisdom of why I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but I don't want to feel the trauma or the negativity or any sort of density, whatever it is that you're afraid of feeling. Like, identify that. I don't want to feel that. Cut that out of my visual experience, okay? And you can also say, I don't want to have any emotional residue from this memory, from seeing, from re-experiencing it after this is done. I can, and if you've ever seen my video on psychic boundaries and guidelines, you do need to line up with what you're saying. I always recommend in my classes, we go through this, it's like Psychic Development 101, where you have to learn how to develop guidelines when you're navigating these realms so that you have a sense of peace and just navigational alignment, right? Flow to what's coming in and what's going out. So, and you're able to function in this world still and not be debilitated by any of the energy from non-physical. It's important. So that component you can get into, like I said, I always recommend that you get into a posture of alignment, what feels strong and aligned for you. For some people, this is sitting on the floor with their tailbone on the floor, like a sense of pure grounding from the pranic tube at the bottom of your tailbone and your coccyx all the way on the ground, like a meditation or lotus pose, feeling a strong sense of stability and alignment all the way up through the spine. And from there, stating out loud whatever it is that you are wanting to create as your boundary. I am okay to experience this memory, to see it visually, but I ask that I have no energetic residue of negativity, of fear, of the density of emotional trauma, whatever it is, like I said, that you're afraid of. You language that. You find a way of languaging it that feels true for you. Meaning you may have to say it a few times so you get succinct enough, clear enough, there's clarity, and you feel what you're saying. You're not just trying to grasp at it. Say it a few times. You can even write it down a few times till you language it in a way that feels like, yeah, I got it. This is what I mean. All right? And you take that stance of alignment, feeling aligned body, mind, and soul, and then you state it out loud. Again, there's a sense of energetic power that's amplified in the vocal cords. Literally, it's an amplification of energy. So you move into that sense of alignment for yourself and create that as a psychic boundary. Also, I will say this was a big fear of mine when I went into missing person work. Okay, and I did some of that at the beginning. At the beginning, I was like, I'll do it from home. I'll do it via my remote viewing, but I don't want to be there in person because I don't want the impact of that shock of seeing the imagery. I'm okay with it in my mental space, but I wasn't okay with it in the 3D experience. Now, I know you're not doing that. You're not going live in person and finding bodies and doing all this stuff. But whatever your guidelines are, that's okay to have a sense of this is what I'm comfortable with emotionally, and that will change and grow. Your psychic boundaries are ever evolving, and some will come up that later on you're like, oh, I need to put that boundary in place, or that boundary is no longer relevant for me. Just like rules in your own household, as you're growing and maturing and becoming an adult, some of the rules you needed as a child, you no longer need as an adult. But they provide a sense of security, scaffolding as you're moving through this mediumship process, the navigation of the non-physical realm, right? And again, you can just hold to whatever is comfortable for you. I would just encourage you on the path. I think there are some people in traumatic events, just like ER doctors and hospice nurses and people that feel very comfortable in the aiding of transition work. I love that space. I truly do. And maybe, there's people out there like me, but maybe we are unique in that. And I enjoy navigating that space and being a bridge in that way. And as you're developing this practice and you're getting more and more comfortable with your mediumship and your own sense of guidelines that provide your sense of safety, you will develop what feels like your personal alignment with it, what you really love to do, and kind of strengthening that as who you are and what you want in terms of service to humanity, whether it be, strengthening, like you said, making your mediumship a more permanent part of what you do. If your desire is to help the other, Spirit will always make a way to bring you into that. The process, and I've shared this before on other videos, is also always, because this is a spiritual process, there is always a letting go of yourself as well, letting go of the ego, letting go of you, letting go of your expectations, letting go of your fears as the practitioner. There's always a growth to be experienced there. And that's good, all right? There's nothing that's good for you. That's soul growth, mama or daddy. That is good. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path when you have a bit of friction with fear. Move through that, because there is a sense, like I said, of growth and letting go of your own identity of like, I'm the medium. Some in some ways. but you're also a just open vessel. It's so much about the other. Like I said, if you're aligning with them, they're not in a place of fear. They're not in a place of restriction or judgment, or so there's so much beauty in that it enables you to let go of your own sense of worry, concern, that spirit shows up and does the work if that is your true desire and your heart is aligned with that. I hope that is helpful for you. Stay tuned. I do these videos once a week, like I shared, and you can always write in your question as well if you're interested at the website on the comment form. Just let me know. Blessings.